Hello, good listeners. Welcome to Tales from the Mennonite Heritage Archives, where we share stories about people, places, and events from Mennonite history. I'm your host, Dan Dyck. Thanks for tuning in. In previous episodes, I've been chatting with folks who work at the MHA. Hearing them share what they do gives us a glimpse into what happens at an archive. Today, you're going to hear from Isaiah Letkeman, archival assistant at the MHA. Isaiah studies accounting in the business program at Canadian Mennonite University. Studying accounting while working at a historical archive might seem like an unlikely pairing, but Isaiah said that his student learning helps his archival work, and his archival work at times helps him in his studies. He's also fascinated by the relationships and the interconnectedness of the Mennonite community, and enjoys some casual Mennonite celebrity name-dropping among his friends. Stay tuned as he drops a couple of names from the National Hockey League and Hollywood. Isaiah, who is originally from Altona, Manitoba, has worked part-time at the MHA for the last 2 years under the supervision of archivist Conrad Sara. I spoke with Isaiah just before he left the archives to pursue a summer internship. I started off by asking where he grew up.
So I grew up in Altona, Manitoba, small town. There's a lot of Mennonite culture there for sure. So it made the transition to the archives an easy one.
I asked Isaiah what it's like to work at the MHA and why he enjoys it.
Working at the MHA is great. It's nice if you like to kind of be working on your own independently. There's always opportunities to work as a team when the mailings go out once a quarter or so, and there's lots of projects like that. There's lots of reading, lots of German, lots of English. I'm not great at reading German, but I've learned a lot in the last 2 years, so pretty interesting at times. It's a nice, quiet place where you can get lots of work done. And for me, being a student, it's right on campus. Can go whenever I need to. Hours are nice and flexible, so I enjoy it.
I wanted to know what he does and what a typical day looks like.
Typically, it looks like processing material that's been donated. So if a family or an organization donates materials to the archives, I get to go through it, organize it, title it, put it onto the internet, and make it available for people to find.
Sometimes Isaiah is surprised by the names he recognizes in his work, and even more when he realizes connections between people he knows.
I've been surprised, I think, at times at how interconnected the Mennonite community is. I'll be looking through a personal collection that has been donated, and I'll recognize names of correspondence between people that I wouldn't have known would have been connected. But there's lots of connection, and something, Mennonites always want to know who's who and how you all know each other, and there's definitely a web of connection between them.
Isaiah sees parallels between his business studies and the archival information he processes.
I think with any kind of work, you can draw some parallels. There's lots of times, especially the organizational records that come in, those have their minutes for their meetings, and they have their budgets and all those types of things. So I think my business side helps with deciding, okay, how much of this is needed in the archives. We don't want to be keeping, 500 pages worth of budgets if we only need 2. So that's one area where things kind of interconnect.
He's also learned a few things about financial reporting from business archives.
I think just the way that they're presented can be helpful. So I think seeing ways that large companies present their information has been something that I've been learning and picking up. I know I referred to some information from the archives when doing a financial report for a final project once. So there is always something to learn.
As a passionate sportsman, Isaiah enjoys finding out about Mennonites who are professional athletes and sharing that knowledge with his friends to get them interested in his work. One of his favorite ways to find those connections is through the Grandma Online Genealogical Database, which helps users find family relationships to each other and to famous people.
Honestly, I was just playing around on the Grandma database and had found this function where you could say, hey, am I related to these notable Mennonite figures? And I didn't even know at this point that he was Mennonite or had Mennonite connections. And to this point, I've just been using it as an interesting conversation point to be like, hey, do you want to know? Because we can find out really quickly if you'd like. You want to know, are you related to Conrad Beddard? I can find out. And that's usually something that can make them interested in my work as well.
Just in case you don't follow hockey, I asked Isaiah to share a little more about Conrad Beddard.
He plays for the Chicago Blackhawks, and I would guess he's probably around 19, 20. According to the Grandma database, he's my sixth cousin. But, the database has a way of showing you all the big names in the Mennonite community and how you could be related to them possibly, if you're so interested. But he was drafted first overall in last year's draft, and they're expecting him to be a pretty good hockey player in the years to come.
I wanted to know if Isaiah's connection to Conrad Beddard spurred any other similar connection finding. Here's what he found out about a certain Hollywood movie star.
An interesting figure that did come out of that was Pam Anderson, who has connection to the Southern Manitoba Mennonites. And this was actually brought on by my dad and a conversation he had at his workplace where somebody had just mentioned this kind of off the cuff and was like, hey, I've heard that Pam Anderson has some connections here. And my dad, knowing where I work, reached out and said, what do you think? Like, is there any validity to this claim? So I started doing some looking and finding things out, and it turns out that her grandmother was born in Silberfeld, just really close to Altona. Her great-grandfather was one of the original homesteaders in Silberfeld. So there's documents backing that up as well. So I texted him back and said, yeah, there's some real claim to that. We can look at this a little bit further. And from there, I think he's become interested as well in a little bit of that history.
In a couple of previous episodes, we shared the story of Ollie Penner, better known to the children in her wide broadcast audience as the storyteller Aunt Ollie. Isaiah organized Ollie Penner's collection when it arrived at the MHA.
One of the collections that I've worked with recently, which was interesting to me, was the Aunt Ollie materials. Going through her scrapbooks and seeing kind of the way that she documented what she did on CFAM, and seeing all the fan letters that were written in by people from my community that I recognized their names. And so that was a very interesting collection to get to look at a little closer.
Occasionally, some unusual items are found among the materials donated to the archives. I asked Isaiah if he had any stories of unexpected finds in the collections of boxes he's gone through.
I do have one. When it was early on when I started working here, there was a collection that was donated. It was donated by some children from their parents' estate, and there was lots and lots of boxes that had just kind of been packed up and had been sent out because there was lots of materials to cover. So it was my job to go through and decide what's all in here, what should we keep, what should we let go. And among all the paper records and all the materials that related to Mennonites, there was one box of more, how should we say, material objects, so household items and whatnot. And in that box, there was a pair of underwear that I picked up and was taking a closer look just to say, hey, what is this? And as this was happening, Conrad came in and he looked at me and I looked at him and I said, I swear, this is the first time I've found something like this. We put it away, and I don't think that's going to be available to the public going forward. There were some medals and some trophies and different things like that were a little bit more notable. That I think will be made available at the archives in the future once that project has been fully completed. Yeah.
Once in a while, archive staff go on field trips so they can see for themselves the places they learn about in the documents they handle. I asked Isaiah to tell me about one of the field trips he's been on.
One of the field trips that we did, I think it was 2 years ago, we wanted to go, or Conrad wanted to show us the post road in the West Reserve, kind of South Manitoba. So the post road was something that was created in 1878. And it went from Emerson for quite a ways, just south of Morden, I believe. And so this post road, what it was, is these large posts were put into the ground, about 10 feet tall or so. And it was designed so that if you were traveling in the nighttime or traveling in the wintertime, you wouldn't get lost. Because at that time, you were just going in the open prairie. So, farmers, relatives, mail, they all needed to have a path that they could follow. And this post road is what helped them not get lost. What I found so interesting about that field trip was that it was so close to home. Like a 5-minute drive outside of Altona and you can come across where the post road would have gone right by. And even though I had lived there my whole life, it was something that I'd never heard of or really knew about. So then learning that history and going where the post road used to be, and seeing the communities along it, communities that I've been to and heard of, but didn't know the deeper history behind it. So that was really interesting for me, just learning about something that's been so close and yet totally unknown.
Isaiah speaks highly about the value an archive contributes to the community.
You never really know what could be there and what could be of interest to you. Like for myself, now that I've been working there, I've found that there's my own family materials there, and it gives me the opportunity to learn about my family history and about what they went through in Soviet Union Russia before coming over to Canada. And even for those that don't have the Mennonite connection, there's stories, there's history, and there's connections to things outside of Mennonite history as well. And I think that's something that's important to learn about as well.
Thanks so much to Isaiah Letkeman for a great conversation. For photos of the post road and other places and people Isaiah mentioned in our conversation, or to hear this episode again, visit mharchives.ca. If you have a question or comment about what you've heard, dash off an email to us at info@mharchives.ca.
Hello, I'm Conrad Stace, the archivist at the Mennonite Heritage Archives. Your donations help preserve and share stories like the one you just heard. To send a gift, visit our website at mharchives.ca and click on Support, or give us a call at 204-560-1998. Thanks also to our partners, Canadian Mennonite University, the Centre for Transnational Mennonite Studies, Mennonite Church Canada, and Golden West Radio.
In an upcoming episode, we'll share the story of Cornelius Friesen, the founder of the popular ice cream spot, the Bridge Drive-In, more commonly referred to by Winnipeggers as BDI. Thanks to the Tales team of Conrad Stace, Graham Unruh, and Kaylee Dyck for their work on the program. I'm your host, Dan Dyck. Tales from the Mennonite Heritage Archives will be back soon with more stories about people, places, and events from Mennonite history. Thanks for listening.